Hello to everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for the first live webinar of our GLOW week. My name is Danielle Somick, and I'm the Interim Associate Director for UCLA Travel Study. And UCLA Travel Study are the summer faculty-led programs housed at UCLA. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Magdalena, who's going to give us an introduction.
Good morning. I'm Magdalena Barragan. I'm the director of the Study Abroad Office. We have a number of programs, so I do encourage you to attend as many of these sessions during GLOW Week, which is a very special opportunity that we've created this year. Our office is really the hub for all study abroad programs and options, and you are always welcome to check out our website, come to our virtual advising hours and meet with advisors or coordinators for the programs, and also to find ways to connect with study abroad returnees. This event this week, the Global Learning Opportunities Week, is the first time we're launching this set of informational sessions in a virtual environment to provide you with lots and lots of details and information that you can come back to and reference as you start to consider your plans for the coming summer. If you can advance. I'm going to go over some of the topics with you that we are going to have covered today. We just did the welcome. We are also going to talk about COVID-19 and its impact on travel. The overview of the program, the travel study program, some financial information, logistical information, and then we'll talk about some sample programs to give you an idea of what's available through summer travel study. Study abroad and COVID-19. There are lots of questions, I would imagine, about COVID-19 and whether or not travel is possible. Again, I want to remind you, we are planning here for summer 2021. That's a long ways away. And we firmly believe that we will be running programs in person by that point in time. We are, of course, continuing to monitor this environment constantly. We are looking daily to see different alerts across the globe. We're looking at CDC, State Department, and in-country information to determine what is safe. And that will always be our number one priority, to make sure that we are sending you into an environment that protects your health and safety, as well as that of our faculty and staff who accompany on the programs. So I want to reassure you that we are going to continue to do everything we can to monitor safety, but we firmly believe that by summer 2021, we will be able to launch these programs in person. As an added safeguard, we are continuing to develop virtual program opportunities as backup plans for travel study programs. And there are more details on the website, so you can see which programs will convert to virtual format if necessary. We will be making decisions about programs running in person or switching to virtual in the late winter, early spring quarter, so that there's lots of time for you to make decisions about how you want to proceed with your summer planning. I do encourage all of you and ask for your patience and flexibility. As you are aware, cities and countries across the globe, including here, have opened and then closed down and opened and closed down again. So it's with that reality that we are asking for your patience and to stay with us and to really consider this as an opportunity. We believe that travel will be possible with some new safeguards and standards across the board, things like masks, social distancing, but we will again continue to keep you informed of all of the logistical needs for that to happen. One added note, please, I can't encourage you enough, whether it's this program or any other program that you're considering, is to apply or renew for your passport as soon as possible. The passport agency is backlogged, and so more than ever, we would encourage you, if you're even considering a study abroad program for summer 2021, to apply now or during the fall term to make sure that you get it back in time so it's processed. And with that, I'm going to return it back to Danielle, who's going to go over some of the programmatic details for you.
Thank you. So we're going to start with some basic essentials so that you have a familiarity with travel study. So what is UCLA Travel Study? They're faculty-led courses taken abroad. Typically, they're about 8 units, though we have a few that are up to about 12, 13 units. It's a really unique opportunity. So you're able to satisfy your degree requirements the same as if you were on the UCLA campus if you're a student here. And so you can take the courses, travel around with the faculty and a cohort of others, and it's really tailored to the specific location where you're studying. So it's as if a UCLA course was adapted to the environment. So your classroom is really where you are in the world. Travel study programs are usually 3 to 6 weeks, and we run them typically only in the summer. And at this point, we're on most continents now, and we're really proud of that fact. When can you apply? So actually we have a registration process that's not a typical application. So it's open on November 18th at 7 a.m. and it is available on a first come, first serve basis, which is why the date and time are really important. I would encourage you to put a reminder in your calendar for that. Some programs can be highly competitive. So we have a few, especially elementary language tracks where there's limited capacity and they fill up really quickly. In general, though, we usually have some availability in travel study close to the close date later on in April. But if you have a specific one you're really interested in, we would encourage you to look at it early. It's open to all current college students. So if you have friends at other campuses or maybe at other universities and study abroad is not possible for them next summer, I would really encourage you to bring them along with us. So you have to at least be 18 and a high school graduate. But if you're in good academic standing, then you're eligible for the program. Good academic standing at UCLA is about a 2.0 GPA. So how do you complete the process? How do you figure out if you want to do study abroad through travel study? I would first recommend that you go to the program website and review all the different program options. We have it so you can search by location or by course content or by even GE credit if that is what you're looking for. Once you find the best match, I definitely recommend you take a look at it and meet with your academic advisor. If you have academic questions or if you have logistical questions or needs, you can meet with one of our advisors. Once registration opens, again, first come, first serve. So I would encourage you to try to do that as early as possible. After you fill out the online registration form, which only takes usually about 10-15 minutes, then you'll receive a reference number that will allow you to go in and pay your non-refundable $200 deposit. Once you submit the deposit, your spot is guaranteed and it will be held for you for next summer. So it's pretty easy. There's a couple of pieces that you have to prepare in advance for the registration. So like taking your headshot against a white background, the same as you would for a passport. And then if you have your payment information available, that will streamline it so you can register more quickly. But we have notes about that on our registration page. At the very end, you'll receive a confirmation email that tells you you have officially registered, and you'll have a PIN number, usually a 2 or 3 digit number that allows you to access the system. There is one program that does have instructor consent, so you see that little note there. If you're interested in History Paris, your process is slightly different in that you don't pay your deposit until the history professor has allowed you consent to register in the program. So that one has an additional form you fill out with some additional information. How do you know if you're in the program? Well, once you pay the deposit, if we collect your money, then you're in the program. You'll receive a confirmation email, so pretty simple. And there's no waiting process other than the history program. If you register and you pay your deposit, then you're guaranteed to participate. Programs do fill up fairly quickly. So I said that the Spanish language track program, specifically in Granada, that one can be I think maybe 15 minutes now, maybe a little bit longer because we have 2 tracks. But the first day, generally speaking, that track will fill. Most other programs, though, have some space until a little bit later on. Usually we have a majority of our programs starting to fill by January or February. Obviously, this year is a little bit different, but I would still encourage you to register early if you think you really want the program. Registration will officially close April 2nd or whenever a program fills. Since it's not really an application, you can only apply to or register in one program. So there's an option to be waitlisted, but you don't have a backup option if you are on a wait list. So I would consider maybe switching programs if you're really high up, number 30, 40 on a wait list, because odds are you may not ever move off of it. So if you do want to actually register in 2 programs, you can contact us if there's no conflicting dates, and we might be able to accommodate you depending on space. If you're waitlisted in a program, it will move up and you'll get an email every time you are moved up. So from number 3 to number 2, or when you're invited to actually join the program, should a space open. But the closer we get to April, the fewer students actually move off the wait list. So in especially the case of Granada, if you're really looking for that elementary language, I would recommend maybe also double checking like the Merida program that has the same track. And that might be a better way to ensure you're able to go abroad. We're going to move into some of the finance information now. So how do I pay for study abroad and what's included in it for travel study? So the program fees that you'll see soon on our website, we haven't updated them just yet. We're finalizing some things, but once they're listed, you'll see that it includes housing in all programs and your course tuition for all programs. The meals and activities vary though. So if you're comparing two programs side by side, I would recommend you review the little fee grid and the notes below it to tell you exactly what's included. So some of the programs may have 1 or 2 meals a day. Some may have none because you're living in an environment where it's an apartment with, a kitchenette and you can cook your food. So it does vary a little bit. The things that are not included, in general, the airfare to and from the country where you're traveling is not included. Your books, so if your professors want you to pick up books from the campus bookstore, order them online, those would not be included. And the meals as well. So the part where you're able to budget more, if you are someone who's looking to keep your costs low, would be those personal expenses, incidentals. So things like weekend travel, going to extra museums, or maybe like a day trip to a nearby city. Those sorts of things are on your own, and you can determine how much you're willing to pay for those. And additionally, meals. So if you really want to try to cook, you have either food restrictions or maybe you are comfortable cooking so that you don't have to spend as much money, then I would choose a program possibly that has a kitchen access component to it. Airfare is another one, really. We recommend you be as creative as possible. If you celebrate holidays, maybe you could ask for some contributions to your airfare, or check if you have a family member who has frequent flyer miles, they maybe can help you out with it, because that's another big expense to think about. So just to give you a range of your options for this summer, I've highlighted a couple of samples here. So I've listed 2 travel study programs and then UCLA summer sessions, just because those are all of your options for the summer you might be considering. For the 2 travel study programs, you can notice there's a few differences here. So even though they're both 5-week programs, there's a difference in the number of units and the program fee that will be listed on the website. Those estimates here are a little bit different. And these are, again, based on 2020 numbers. So I may have some changes coming for those, but hopefully pretty stable from year to year. So you can see for Cyprus, even though it's a lower program fee, you might have to budget more for your meals and you might have to budget more for your airfare. So that comes down to the structure of the program. In Cyprus, we have kitchen access, so you might be doing more cooking, versus Granada, where we have meals and half board actually. So once you are in the city of Granada, you have breakfast and lunch covered for you, which is why we're saying you might need a little less out of pocket for your meals. In general, though, you can see that bottom total line. It's not a huge jump up from summer sessions, so it just depends on what your priority is and what you're looking for in the summer, but hopefully there's some options available at your price point, and there's lots of financial aid available as well. So there's lots of things to consider as you're planning on which option you might want to do. How do I pay for UCLA travel study? So fees will be available and payable through My UCLA. The only difference is the $200 deposit. That goes through a different system when you register in the program. But after that point, once your enrollment is passed and you are actually enrolled in the courses in early March, then you're able to pay off the rest of the balance owed towards your program fee. Keep in mind that $200 deposit is your first payment towards your program. So we would have that listed as a credit and you would just be responsible for the remaining balance. Payment deadline is a very firm deadline, and that is April 2nd, which is the same day that our travel study registration closes. If you're a financial aid recipient, note that you don't have to prepay the entire cost of the program. So you're able to do a financial aid application, and there's more details on the next slide. But once you have done the application, then you will not be responsible for paying that. You have up until 5 days prior to your program departure to finish covering any of your payments. And typically, if you're having aid, you would have the aid credited towards your balance first, And if you took out, say, like an extra loan to cover meals or travel once you're on site, then that money would be credited to your bank account if you've set up direct deposit, which we highly encourage you to do that. It's a big headache if you have a check mailed back to your parents' address and you're actually in Spain. Financial aid is available for travel study programs, and I've noted a couple of options here. So if you're a UCLA student, you would fill out a summer travel study financial aid application, and the financial aid presentation that we're hosting, I think on Wednesday evening for GLOW this week, will have some more detail, and you'll be able to learn directly from a financial aid advisor there. So there is definitely a process, and I'll show you the next slide has a timeline for you of the key dates and figures that you need to keep in mind. If you're a non-UCLA student, you are also still eligible to use financial aid potentially, but you do need to work with your home financial aid office. So they will be the ones processing your aid like normal, and then you fill out a form that lets us know at our office and at UCLA that you're going to be applying financial aid from another institution towards your travel study program. And again, we'll have more information about that. If you're a non-UC student, it's also still possible, but you would do the same form as the non-UCLA students if you're from another UC campus. Your financial aid, it will be received and issued to you usually in June, about 5 to 10 days before the start of your program, or July or August, depending on your program's start date. Notifications about your aid packaging do go out a little bit on the later side. So that's something that you can check in with the financial aid office if you have eligibility questions or concerns. Summer financial aid, one thing to keep in mind is that although there are lots of scholarships and other opportunities available to you, it can be more competitive for the summer just because summer is one of the more popular terms for students to go abroad. And since it's a shorter program, typically funding is available in smaller increments. So like a $500 scholarship compared to maybe a $2,000 scholarship you would see for a quarter or semester long program. I wouldn't use this as a deterrent though. I personally took out loans for my for my academic year abroad. And it's the only loan that I honestly do not regret one bit. So it's a cost benefit for you and your family to consider. But I wouldn't say that it's a deterrent or should be a deterrent from you studying abroad if that's your only way to be able to afford it and you really need that additional funding. You're also able to kind of budget and decide how much of the loan you want to accept. So I would say it's better to apply and then decide you don't need it rather than to wait and then not have enough money to be able to afford everything you want to do on the program. So the scholarships are mostly listed on our website, and there are a number of merit-based and need-based scholarship opportunities. Students who are veterans may also be able to use veterans benefits, but you do need to email the contact here listed on the screen, R.R. Redding. So Ryan Redding is the veterans benefits liaison on campus, and he'll be able to work you through that process. The Travel Study Scholarship is one really good opportunity for students who participate on our program. It covers 50% of your program fee and is highly competitive. It does have a service component, so you would do maybe some blogging over the summer or work with our office on events in the future to be eligible to receive that scholarship. So it's a really good one. I would encourage you to apply for it, but note that we have a limited number available. There are also a lot of departmental scholarships. So for instance, like the French department or the history department, they have funding opportunities available for students who are participating on their specific programs. In some cases, like with the Spanish department, it's possible you don't even need to be a major, but you can review the criteria through our website and on the websites of the department directly. Note for those scholarship opportunities, you may need to work directly through the department's website or submit essays and things through email to them. And there are also donor scholarships that we manage through our website through a scholarship management system. So we've noted them on our website, like the COMAR and some of the others that are specific based on criteria you might fit based on your biography, your profile. So I would recommend that you review all of those as well and see which ones you would want to apply for, because they will come up in early winter quarter and you don't want to miss any of those opportunities. The scholarship portal I've listed here on our website as well. So just to give you a quick rundown, what do you need to keep in mind for finances? Here's a quick checklist. So first, register for your program in the fall. And then when you do so, pay your $200 non-refundable deposit to lock your spot in. And then work on your passport application. Definitely consider renewing it. As Magdalena noted, we can't guarantee how quickly they'll process this year. So if you have any type of expiration date coming up in the next year, you might want to go ahead and just renew it. Or if you don't have a passport, it does take a little bit to get it in the get-go. So I would recommend collecting all of your documents even now if you want, and get ready to prepare for that application. It's never too early to start on your passport, to be honest. The next step would be to complete your FAFSA. That should be open now, if not very, very soon. So I would say, even though it may be based on parents' taxes and have a lot of pieces, go ahead and start that early. It will streamline the entire process for study abroad in the spring if you do that now versus in March. And then typically between March and April, you would complete your summer financial aid application if you're planning on using aid. And again, better to do it than to not do it, since it has a narrow window there. And then finally, you would pay your program balance. Either April 2nd is the due date if you're not using any aid, or 5 to 10 days before departure, you would pay your final balance due if you are receiving financial aid. A few notes about the logistics, about how the whole process works. For airfare, we recommend that you do not purchase it until you're notified by your travel study coordinator, which would either be myself or Marie Natala. So one of the two of us will let you know the program's looking good. We're guaranteed to be traveling at this point based on our assessment of COVID-19, and you're safe to go ahead and purchase. We will wait until we know whether or not travel is going to work. So just as a heads up to keep that in mind. And then continue to check your program checklist for any details, and go ahead and get your passport. I would recommend checking consular websites. So if you need a tourist visa, we'll let you know what the process looks like. In most countries, you won't need a student visa for summer travel. But if anything changes based on COVID-19, we will certainly let you know any new updates. And then finally, just keep in mind, guests are not allowed on the program. So if your family wants to visit you at the end, we would recommend they not overlap much with your dates, or are comfortable doing their own itinerary until your program has concluded. And finally, just a quick summary about housing. So we have some variety here in the types of housing we have for our programs. It's either hotel, apartment, or dormitory typically. Some have access to kitchens, like I noted. There's a lot of information on the website about the logistics. And once we know your program is indeed traveling, we will give you specific arrival instructions to the exact hotel or lodging location. So you'll have information and be prepared to be able to get to your hotel or location on site. Accommodations are only for the exact dates of the program. We can't accommodate early arrivals or late departures. We can, in some cases, though, make accommodations for roommates. So we'll have a portal that you can go in and submit your roommate's requested name, and your roommate does have to request you back. But note, in all housing types, no guests are allowed. Credit for your travel study is relatively simple if you're a UCLA student. It shows up on your transcript as a letter grade, and it's the same exact UCLA courses as you could take on campus. Pretty simple there. Students from other UC campuses will earn general UC credit, and then on your campus you can petition, so you can have it count towards major or minor equivalencies at home, at your home campus, but you may have one extra step for that. If you're not a UC system student, then you may need to work with your campus to get the transcript from UCLA reviewed, and then have your credit transferred to your institution. Course syllabi and other logistical details will be available through your course website. Your instructor typically is pretty hands-on for travel study, so you'll get to work with them and do orientation and learn a lot from them even before your program starts. They are truly your program director, not just your instructor in the case of travel study. Okay, so I'm going to give you just a brief overview of a couple of programs since we want to save some time for our returnee. Montana Epps is joining us, so I'm going to go through a couple programs here quickly before we bring her in. So one option you have through the Spanish department is in Buenos Aires, and this is a community service program in Argentina. Here you earn 2 courses that are upper division Spanish, but you don't need to be a Spanish major or minor if you're Spanish speaking and you really are looking for a hands-on community service volunteer program. This might be a really interesting option. Argentina is a really amazing country. I actually visited this one, and Buenos Aires is really beautiful. Lots of cool museums. You get to learn a little bit of tango. So I would recommend this program if you're looking for Spanish immersion. It's one of the best options for that, although we do have other programs in Spanish speaking locations. Here's one for STEM students. So we have an ancient technology, materials, and forensics program in Cyprus. This one is the 5-week program that we showed on our comparison slide earlier. This one is designed for engineering students, but it's not exclusive to engineers. So if you're, say, an archaeology student, or you're just looking for a program with lab components, you might be interested in this program. Currently, it is a Mat Sci major elective for engineering students in Mat Sci, but it could work for other engineering students as well by exception. So you can potentially get a technical breadth course. The two courses are lower division at this time and potentially maybe adding GE credit in the near future, but currently they would work as hours towards graduation, and the 13L, is a lab. Another really cool option if you're looking for a really happy location, I would recommend this Denmark program. Denmark is really beautiful, very transportation friendly. You can ride your bike around and get around really easily. It's really beautiful in the summer as well. This program offers GE credit, so writing 2 is available. You can also do literary and cultural analysis or diversity credit. This program is a really awesome option if you're looking for a very inclusive environment and you're interested in Hans Christian Andersen. And finally, I will highlight this Italian program in Rome. This one is one of the few programs where you actually get to choose which specific classes you're taking. Most travel study programs have 2 courses and everyone takes both of them, but in this option, you're actually able to choose whether you want to do elementary Italian in place of one of the other Italian courses listed here. The other 2, Italian 42 and 191, are taught in English. So it is open to students who do not have Italian background. This program works though for the foreign language sequence. If you're wanting to get Italian 1, you can come back to UCLA and take Italian 2 and 3 and wrap up that language requirement. So you don't have to have any background in Italian to start. This one's a really awesome location as well. There's so much history, and the program works you from the Renaissance all the way to modernity. So you do get a really great time lapse of what's it like in Italy and how has Italy evolved to be the location and beautiful country that it is now. And so now I'm, last but not least, going to turn it over to our returnee, Montana. She's going to speak a little bit about her experience on travel study and give you some tips.
Hi, everybody. My name is Montana Epps. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a UCLA alumna. I graduated last year, right? 2019? Yeah, it feels like so long ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. And it wasn't that long ago that I actually studied abroad through the travel study program either. I am also just want to give a heads up and apologize for any background noise or anything that you see behind me. I'm currently outside actually visiting a friend of mine that I met on the Granada program, which is just full circle why you all should travel abroad and do the travel study program, because I personally think it is amazing. Let me see if I can go in sequence and answer each of these questions, but why did you choose to participate on travel study? So I actually chose very last minute, if I'm being honest, to do my foreign language abroad. So I needed to fulfill my foreign language at the time because I was a pre-med student, which I personally was not very happy with. I did not enjoy it. And so that's another reason why travel study was just an amazing opportunity for me, because it opened my eyes to the possibility to major in something else, major in something that I personally identified with and I really was passionate about. So actually, after coming back from the Granada program, I changed my major to history. I absolutely loved learning about other cultures and the history of the places that I was visiting. So I ended up going directly to UCLA after studying abroad and changing my major to history, and I graduated with a history degree. And then simultaneously, I actually started working at the IEO as a student advisor, and through that position, just fell in love with study abroad. And fell in love with talking with students and just educating them on the different possibilities that were open to them through study abroad, which opened up another path for me into higher education. So I'm actually currently doing my master's at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo in higher education counseling and student affairs. I absolutely love it. It is a huge passion of mine, and I'm very excited to pursue a career in that field. And all of this I credit to my time studying abroad. So ultimately started out just to get credit for a requirement at UCLA, but ended up being a life career and path for me. And I just could not speak any higher of the experience of studying abroad. I think it's amazing. In fact, I actually did it again the following summer and did a UCEAP program. And so really what I kind of gained from this experience was just a new perspective on what I was meant to do, and also just a new perspective on where my direction was in life. I also identify as a first generation and low income student. So that was a big thing for me. I really wanted to make sure that the program I was doing was benefiting me both academically and financially, and also professionally, which it ultimately ended up doing. And so I'm very, very fortunate for it. And so really a piece of advice that I would give you all when looking for a program is being very open-minded. I went into this program for academic purposes, but ended up coming out of it with a whole new perspective on life, my career, and just what I wanted to gain from UCLA. And again, I went in pre-med and it wasn't for me. It wasn't a good fit. And I kind of realized that studying abroad, and very, very fortunate for the connections I've made. Again, I'm in a whole new city, experiencing that for the first time with one of my friends who I studied abroad with. So I'm very fortunate for that. I'm very grateful for the friendships that I got from it. And then also just the connections I've made at the IEO. I absolutely love the team that is on this presentation, and I could not stress that enough. I think that they are amazing people, and they will take great care of you when you study abroad. And so I highly, highly recommend studying abroad, expanding your horizons, and just getting out there and having an open mind. And then I will say, if you are worried about finances, again, that was one of my initial concerns. Just do all that you can. And like Danielle had mentioned in the beginning, if you need to take out a loan, it will be the best loan that you ever take out. I guarantee you that. Money is nothing compared to the experience that you will get studying abroad and the relationships that you will build. And it has foundationally, I would say, built me into the person I am today. And so I am very, very grateful for my time that I spent abroad, and I would do it all over again, 10 times more. So I highly recommend it. And I definitely encourage you all to seek out your resources at the IEO. And yeah, always feel free to reach out to me too if you have questions. I'm sure the folks at the IEO can put you in touch with me, or if you have questions about the Granada program specifically. Yeah, I'm always here as a resource for you as well, and happy to answer any questions that you have.
Great. Thank you so much, Montana. I really appreciate your feedback. And I will echo that you're one of my favorite returnees as well. So thank you. All right. So I'm going to move on here. I'm going to show this for a few seconds here. So if you do want to learn more about travel study and keep up to date on any developments that might come up, I would recommend you go ahead and join our email newsletter. So we'll try not to spam you too much, we promise. But if you do want to stay connected with us, please check out the newsletter. Hopefully everyone has that pulled up, and it'll be in other presentations this week as well if you do miss it. And here's our contact information. We do have virtual drop-in advising going on. So if you have any questions beyond this GLOW week and you want to touch base with us, we're able to do walk-ins as well as one-on-one advising. So feel free to contact us. There's lots of different ways for you to reach out to us. And I would also recommend plug our social media here. I'd encourage you to follow us there. Lots of different highlights, and you'll see lots of photos from past participants. Thank you very much. And we're going to go to our Q&A section now. So I'm going to stop sharing so that you can see me as I respond to questions. Okay, so I'm going to ask my colleagues to read off the questions, and if there's anything from Montana, you can feel free to put that question in there as well while she's here. It's a great opportunity to learn from a fellow Bruin, so I'd encourage you to submit any questions you might have for her. Looks like we still have a fair bit of time here, actually, so we'll take questions for a little while here.
Okay, the first question we have is for summer 2021 travel study programs, would the financial aid be based on your 2020-2021 financial aid?
So I would recommend that you review the financial aid presentation or attend the GLOW session later this week for more financial aid information. But 2021 summer is the first term of the new financial aid year, which is why we really need to have your FAFSA completed so that your aid will reflect the first term of the new year. So if anything has changed based on your financial situation this current year, hopefully that will be better reflected as well in the next year's FAFSA.
Okay, the next question is, if we missed the Study Abroad 101, where can we find the recorded webinar?
So the recorded webinar will be on it's I think like the on-demand section of the GLOW page on our website, and it will also post on our YouTube channel. So you can check it out in either location. It may be a day or two before it appears on YouTube, but we'll have it posted on the on-demand section as soon as it's available.
What is the travel themed keyword for this live session?
Good question. So the slide somehow got missed, but it's passport is the keyword for our scavenger hunt today. So if you enter the password passport on the keyword search into the GLOW section, you'll be able to be eligible for a $75 gift card drawing. So I would recommend that you do that.
Okay, next question is, how do we find out which programs allow people of all majors versus people of only a specific major?
Good question. So travel study is actually open to students from all majors. You don't necessarily have to be a major in a certain program. So if you didn't see yours represented on the website, that's not a problem. Most programs actually don't have any prerequisites for the coursework. The only exceptions really are the ones that are language-based, because you do have to complete the language sequence. So that's something to keep in mind, that if you're trying to do an intermediate Spanish, you would definitely need to have completed the full elementary sequence. So for other programs, if you're looking to do a history program, even if it's upper division, you don't necessarily have to have any background in those history courses. It may help make things a little easier, but it's not required.
Next question, for the program fee, how would the tuition range?
I'm not sure if I fully understand the question, but the tuition is built into the program fee. So it does range depending on the number of units, but it's the same as the summer sessions fees for tuition. So it's built into the cost of the program, dependent on how many units you're enrolling in. So the fees are built in and it's preset so that students would pay the same program fee for taking 8 units on the travel study program. If you have a follow-up question to that, feel free to submit another one in case I didn't answer that one.
Can you please post the newsletter link?
The newsletter link should be through our GLOW page, but if not, feel free to shoot us an email if you can't find it and we can send it to you.
Keep sending in your questions, guys. We have some time.
Anything for Montana? Any tips or tricks? She's a pro traveler at this point.
For Montana, was the Granada program a full year?
It was a summer program. So it was the travel study program. So we did a few days in Barcelona and then a few days in Madrid. And then we did the remainder of the program in Granada. So it was about 4 weeks in Granada.
Okay, next question is, I'm interested in a France trip. Is there one every year?
That's a really good question. So travel study programs do vary from year to year. We currently have 3 programs that go to France. So we have a global studies program that goes to Paris. There's a French language immersion program that also goes to Paris. And then we have a history program that goes to Paris. So there's 3 different ways to go to France, luckily. It's pretty common that we have a program that does include France every year. Those tend to be pretty stable and don't rotate out. Additionally, the political science traveling program also has one stop in Paris at the end. So it can vary. That's a really good point. Not all travel study programs run every single year, but most of them are pretty consistent. And if you have questions about, if you're thinking like summer 2022, we could tell you probably if it seems more likely than not that a program would run, but things do change. So usually every October, we update the travel study website and we give you new details about what's going to be offered. We announce anything new, and then usually by November, about the time that we launch registration, we'll post any fee information and anything that has changed with the specific options. So like Montana's program, when she went, it was only one option to Granada, but we had such popularity there that we actually now have 2 program tracks and timelines. So you can go to Granada now in June, or you can go in August. You get the choice.
Okay, next question is not related to the program, but out of curiosity, how hard is it to travel to Spain right now?
I think at this current time, it's actually not super possible for US citizens because there's, I think, travel warnings, and Spain is not accepting US citizens in, but I know they've been working towards opening. And I would anticipate, if things continue on the trend that they are now, by next summer, we can't say for certain what countries will be open, but I imagine quite a number of them will. So that's a good point. That's why we've created virtual backup options for as many of our programs as we could, so that you'll still get that content and access to the country. If it does go virtual, the experience, I think, will still be worth it. We're trying to build out something really interesting. You'll have things like a cooking demo or movie nights, possibly meet and greets with locals virtually. So it will be more than just a standard online summer course. We'll hopefully have some additional experiential components to it. I think that they will still be worth it. We're excited to launch those for you, but obviously our preference is for you to travel to Spain or wherever you might want to go as well. We completely understand you're interested in study abroad for a reason, so we're still working with that as our primary goal.
This question is for Montana. What was your favorite part about travel study?
I have too many favorite parts. How much time do I have? No, I'm just kidding. One of them was definitely meeting some of the best people that I could have ever imagined meeting. And then another one at the time for me, and again, this is just very subjective to my experience, but the fact that they were UCLA classes and I automatically got credit for them and I didn't have to petition and I automatically got my foreign language out of the way, that was a huge plus for me. Also just summer, I'm a huge advocate for summer study abroad programs, though I will say that living in the country, you do, by the time it's time to leave, you want to stay. But summer is great because if you are, thinking of going home or just having like a part-time job over the summer, and all your friends are going home, it's a great time to go and experience another country and another culture. And for me at the time, if I had just gone home for the summer, I quite honestly don't think I would have done well, and I wouldn't have been introduced to all of the areas of interest that I now have. So I'm a huge advocate for study abroad during the summer. And so that was also a huge plus for me. It was just the fact that it was over the summer and it kept me busy and I had something to do in between classes. And yeah, just again, experiencing another culture and getting out and exploring another country. I think it also just helps you grow as an individual and becoming more independent. So I loved everything about it, and I could talk about it for hours, but I know that we don't have a lot of time. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I would add to, one of the benefits of travel studies that it really allows you to focus on the country and the experience because so much of it is set up for you in advance. So your faculty is there on site to support you. You have the best sort of knowledge, hands-on. Some of these professors honestly have been leading these programs for 30 years. It's a great wealth of knowledge, and you'll get a really in-depth look at wherever you're traveling. So You have the support, the excursions are all built in. You'll hit all the major landmarks you really would want to see as a tourist, but you're going to go well beyond what a standard tourist might be able to do because of the connections that the faculty have and the type of the guides that we're able to get, the guest lectures that we're able to bring in. So I think that's really I would say from, looking back at my own study abroad experience, there were times that I just chose to be in Spain, but not do a whole lot on my own when I was there for a semester. So you're going to get out of study abroad what you put in. If you really want to be engaged and busy and doing a lot of really cool experiences throughout in a short, compact amount of time, this is a good way to do that.
Yeah, just quickly piggybacking off that, if this is your first time studying abroad, this is an amazing program to do, just because it can be very scary kind of jumping into a study abroad program when you've never been abroad before or been away from your parents or lived in another country. And so just having that all set up for you prior and having these faculty that know exactly what they're doing and even connecting with locals there, it's very beneficial, and it helps you kind of ease into the process too. And it's a great opportunity.
Okay, I have another question for you, Danielle. The Spanish program in Granada says that there's a year of high school Spanish required as a prerequisite. Is that still the case?
Yeah, so for the Spanish Granada program, it will jump in assuming you have the first course completed. So it's Spanish 2A, 3A for that program. You do really need to have either the equivalent of high school Spanish or have done some refreshers recently to be able to jump in at the 2A, because they're not going to start all over and review the basics again. The faculty are usually really good about giving some examples of books you could review if it's been a while. Maybe you're going as a junior or senior on Granada to do the elementary track. That's okay. You just might want to do a refresher or possibly re-enroll in Spanish 1 if you have forgotten absolutely everything. So it will jump in with some knowledge assumed. So we'll definitely work with students. If you say, I haven't taken it admittedly, but I'm going to do Spanish 1, say in spring quarter, that's okay. You can still register for the program, even if you haven't yet taken the prerequisite course. We just want you to know that there is a prerequisite and you do have to complete it by the time you're going to the program.
Okay. We have a student who's interested in studying in the UK and England for the summer. What courses are offered there, and by when should he or she start applying?
So for UK summer programs, we, I believe, have an English program to the UK, and then the political science program starts basically in the UK. So I think those are the two options for summer 2021. For the English courses, if you're an English major, there might be some prerequisites that you would want to take ahead of time. But if not, it is open to other students as well. I would say it's good to start reviewing those program options and check in if you need to with your academic advisor pretty soon. You have, a few weeks here before registration opens. English may not fill up the first day, but who knows, it could fill up, by the holidays or shortly after. So I would say if you're interested in it, definitely look into the courses, make sure they work for you, and then go from there. There's usually other options to the UK as well. I will add, if you're looking for a future year, there's a Shakespeare program that rotates in and out. So there could be other options for you to get to the UK with travel study in future terms as well.
Okay, and I'm going to read this one. Is it worth it to do a program with upper division courses in a major other than your own? Or would it basically leave you at the same place in terms of graduation requirements than if you had not traveled abroad in the summer?
That's a good question. And I would say first double check with your academic advisor, because every student's specific requirements are different based on your academics. But from what I know, some majors actually require you to do some courses outside of your major. So there's a certain number of upper division units a lot of students have to take. So if you've planned strategically, and maybe Montana has a comment on that, it's still possible to do it outside of your major and still graduate on time. And it may actually help you with upper division units outside of your major or outside of your school, even depending on your specific discipline. Montana, any feedback as a fellow Bruin about how that worked for you?
The credit that I got for a class was through the UCEAP program. Again, I did the Granada program to fulfill my foreign language requirement, so I didn't really have to petition for any types of credits or anything, really. And even with the UCEAP program, if I'm being honest, I only really had to petition for one class for my major. I was more studying abroad for the experience because I love loved it, and I wanted to pursue a career in international education and advising students. So I was actually doing it more for professional purposes, if I'm being honest. But in regards to course credit and just getting credit from your professors, I would, your departments, I would highly encourage you, and just echo everything Danielle said, definitely meet with your counselors ahead of time and make sure that you're having these conversations early on. Because the one thing that hurts the most as a student, and I'm speaking from my own perspective, was, coming back and having taken all these classes, but not petitioning for credit beforehand or even asking about getting that credit, and then having the possibility of nothing counting. So definitely just be proactive and have those conversations ahead of time, and visit with your departments, go talk to the staff at the IEO, and start having those conversations so that you can get everything squared away before you leave.
Yeah, and I think that's good feedback too, Montana, to know there may be other reasons why you're interested in studying abroad. Maybe it doesn't quite fit and you're wanting to explore a new area, or maybe it's you want to do the East-West medicine program in Shanghai because you might want to do something in a health field in the future. So the academics is one huge aspect, and it's important to a lot of students. But if you really have other interests, or you want to explore something new, or you've just always wanted to go to Greece, those are good reasons and valid reasons to study abroad too.
Yeah, I will say it looks great on a job application, grad school application. It gives you a great talking point in an interview. So it's great for really anything, but I definitely understand wanting to get academic credit too.
And another question for you, Montana, is if you did any solo traveling or exploring while you were abroad, did you feel safe doing so?
Oh yes, Magdalena and Danielle both know I've done a ton of traveling. I did so much solo traveling after my Granada program, and I actually did so after my Korea program for UCEAP as well. And I've felt completely safe wherever I've been. Solo traveling in Europe is extremely popular, so there are so many people that do it. And as long as you're being proactive and you have safety measures in place and you have an emergency contact and you're still letting people know where you're at, I highly recommend it. Similar with studying abroad, it just really opens up your horizons, and you can explore different parts of yourself and just like your passions, and become so much more independent. And I really think solo travel is kind of, in addition to study abroad, really what sparked my interest for international education. And the fact that studying abroad is so different from just sitting inside a lecture hall. I mean, you learn so much just by walking the streets and meeting locals. And again, I could talk about it for hours. I think it's a phenomenal experience, and I think everybody should do it.
That's great. I don't see other questions. Does anyone else want to submit some questions? Let's take a look.
While we're checking, I just want to thank everyone who's hanging in there and listening to all these questions. We really appreciate you joining us today. It's unfortunate we can't see you face to face, but it's nice to be able to connect with you. And we're looking forward to working with you in the future and hopefully accommodating you on one of our programs soon. So just wanted to say thank you.
Yep. So we do have, again, a question about where students can view the presentation if they joined late.
Okay. Yeah, so if you missed the beginning, no worries. It's going to be on the on-demand section of the Global Learning Opportunities link. So you'll be able to find it there, and it'll also be on our YouTube channel. Probably won't be posted until tomorrow. It takes a little time for YouTube to upload everything. So check back tomorrow for the beginning of the presentation, and it'll also be on the on-demand section of the GLOW website.
And we have a few questions asking about the keyword.
Yep, the keyword is passport.
And good luck, everyone.
I had a slide in there. For some reason it glitched, I think, and it didn't show, but the keyword is passport.
Okay, that's all the questions we have, and we're almost at time. I want to thank everybody for joining us, as Danielle mentioned. Any final words, Danielle or Montana?
Just thanks to Montana again.
Yes, thank you, Montana.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead then, since we're almost at time, and stop the recording, and then We can stay on for another minute or so if anyone has anything final. Thank you all.